It's a pleasure to have you here. A fresh political storm is brewing ahead of the 2027 elections after a top aide to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar delivered one of the sharpest criticism yet of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. The comments have triggered widespread reactions because they touch on issues that millions of Nigerians confront daily.
Atiku Abubakar in the free and fair election will defeat Bola Tinubu one-on-one. We were
the 2023 election.
We were unfortunate that it became a three-way race. Okay, it became a three-way race. The PDP itself. I mean, look, people underestimate the golden boy of the last election was clearly, in the opinion of many, was His Excellency Peter Obi. But people forget that in that same election, Atiku was running against a tide. There was the clamor for Southern presidency. There was the clamor for how can Fulani do another 8 years. We lost some of our key allies. The party that he was running on was sabotaging him, and that man won 12 states in that election. He won 12 states.
The economy, fuel prices, electricity supply, insecurity, and the overall cost of living. Speaking during an interview on Politics Hub, Demola Olarewaju, Senior Assistant on Politics to Atiku Abubakar, argued that the current administration has performed so poorly that many Nigerians are beginning to view former President Muhammad Buhari more favorable than they once did. His remarks immediately attracted attention because Buhari's administration itself faced years of criticism over economic difficulties, insecurity, and governance challenges. Yet, Olarewaju insisted that conditions under the current government have become so difficult that some citizens are now looking back at the previous administration with a different perspective. According to him, one of the biggest concerns facing Nigerians today is the rising cost of living. He pointed specifically to fuel prices, arguing that the sharp increase in the cost of petroleum products has had a ripple effect across the economy. Transportation costs have increased. Food prices have risen. Businesses face higher operating expenses. Families are finding it harder to manage household budgets. For many ordinary Nigerians, these economic realities have become impossible to ignore. Olarewaju argued that economic instability remains one of the defining features of the current administration. He claimed that policies implemented since 2023 have placed additional pressure on households already struggling with inflation and declining purchasing power. The remarks reflect concerns that continue to dominate public discussions across the country, whether in major cities or rural communities. Conversations about food prices, transportation costs, electricity bills, and general affordability remains central to everyday life. Another major area of criticism involved electricity supply. The Atiku aide questioned the effectiveness of the current power sector arrangements, including the electricity band classification system. According to him, many consumers continue to experience inadequate power supply despite being placed in different tariff categories. He argued that access to stable electricity remains one of the most important factors affecting economic growth, business development, and quality of life. For many small businesses, unreliable power means increased dependence on generators and higher operating costs. Power supply has long been one of Nigeria's most persistent challenges, and the issue continues to generate strong opinions from both supporters and critics of government policies. Beyond economic concerns, Olarewaju also focused heavily on insecurity. According to him, criminal activities remain a serious concern in several parts of the country. He pointed to reports of kidnappings, banditry, and violent attacks as evidence that security challenges continue to affect communities nationwide. Security remains one of the most sensitive issues in Nigeria's political environment. Citizens across multiple regions continue to express concerns about attacks on communities, kidnapping incidents, and threats to farming activities, and transportation routes. The federal government has repeatedly stated that security agencies are working to address these challenges, with military operations and intelligence efforts ongoing across various regions. However, opposition figures continue to argue that more needs to be done. Perhaps the strongest part of Olarewaju's comments came when he described the administration as a 360-degree failure. According to him, there is no major sector where he believes the government has achieved meaningful success. He argued that economic hardship, insecurity, and infrastructure challenges have combined to create widespread dissatisfaction among citizens. Such criticism is likely to become increasingly common as political parties prepare for the 2027 elections. With campaigns gradually taking shape, opposition parties are expected to focus heavily on issues such as inflation, employment, fuel prices, security, healthcare, education, and infrastructure. Their goal will be to convince voters that alternative leadership can produce better outcomes. Supporters of the current administration, meanwhile, argue that many reforms require time before their benefits become fully visible. Government officials have consistently defended ongoing economic policies and maintained that difficult decisions were necessary to stabilize the economic and position Nigeria for long-term growth. The contrasting narrative are setting the stage for what could become one of the most fiercely contested political debates in recent years. As the 2027 election approaches, public opinion may increasingly revolve around a simple question: are Nigerians better off today than they were a few years ago? Different political camps are already offering different answers. For critics of the government, rising living costs and continued security concerns are evidence that major changes are needed. For supporters, current reforms represent necessary steps towards future prosperity despite short-term difficulties. What is certain is that the battle for public perception has intensified. Every statement, policy announcement, economic indicator, and security development is likely to become part of a larger political argument as parties position themselves for the next election cycle. The comment from Atiku's aide therefore represent more than just criticism of a sitting government. They offer a glimpse into the themes that could dominate political campaigns in the months and years ahead. Economic hardship, insecurity, fuel prices, electricity supply, and the daily realities facing ordinary Nigerians are expected to remain at the center of the national conversation. And as political temperatures continue to rise, voters will ultimately decide which narrative they find most convincing. The debate over Nigeria's economy, security, and cost of living is becoming